This is Sparta!
What is going on, everybody? Another night, another stream, another night of mayhem. So, let me get the mumbo jumbo till my guests arrive. Let me get the politics out of the way, in other words. So, we're streaming through two platforms. We're streaming from Facebook and YouTube. Primary YouTube, where I've been discovered. So, the topic of the night in the arena is, why do powerful men lose their power? Before you guys jump down my throat and all this stuff, hold your comments. It's a reason behind my theory of this. And the theory is because a lot of shit has been going on lately. Definitely what I've been seeing through WWE, for example, and some other stuff. And it's sad. It's very, very sad how men who work all their lives to get to one point, they're losing everything. Over what? Over pussy? Over fantasization? Over I need to be over controlling you? Over what? History has proven to us men in power always lose their power eventually. Not if, they will. They always lose their power. So that is a big factor in this. This is why this show is very important today. If I can get one message out there, is whoever's watching this, young, old, anything, there is a lot of things in the life. But if you work so hard to get one thing, why lose it? Over what? Whatever you fantasize, whatever you really want, you can have anytime, anywhere, any place. But the point of that is the right place and the right time for everything. That is the problem with all this. And it makes me think how we got where we got in life. The arena, for example. Greece, Rome, Egypt. What is one thing all of them have in common? One thing. Does anybody know? In the comments, let me know. I'll tell you right now what I think that is. And some of you are not going to be surprised one bit. Women. 1. 2. Over jealousy of power. Meaning they want more and more and more. And they don't know when to stop. Sometimes you go too far with it. People fight back. And that's how countries or how can I put this? Countries or generations fall. Look, Rome, for example. Rome fell. Egypt fell. Greece fell too. Only difference about some of them, Greece is still somewhat around. Egypt too. Rome is Italy now. The Roman Empire vanished. So much. And we got our famous, unofficial cheerleader in the house. Let's move this up here where it belongs. There you go. Boop. So, hey, Stacy, did you enjoy the snow we got because of you? Yeah, if you guys live in PA, we got a lot of fucking snow. Not happy about that. Yeah, the snow was so bad. I'll put it this way. My drive is only 30 minutes. It became not 1 hour, but not 2 hours, but 3 long goddamn hours. That's how long it was. So anyway, let's get back to the topic here. So I was saying, yeah, okay, you're full of shit. Nice try there, princess. So let's get back to the topic here. So I feel men lose power because they want more. Let's use Vince McMahon because that's the main idea, the main. How can I put this? Expiration of the show tonight. When he first came around, he had a few bucks in his pocket, but his father's company, and he said he was going after everybody. He wanted one major empire. That's one thing or the other. Big, powerful man fell. All the empires fall. "13 my way." Arthur, can you explain what the hell do you mean by your comment, please? So he worked his ass off. We all know. But one company after one company after one company, to the point there was no other company around but WWF/WWE. The only other company was around, the only last company was WCW. And what he did, he bought his own competition. In his defense, the company was going down shit anyway. Now, let's speed it up to today's date. Actually, no, let's not speed up yet. Let's speed up a little bit. For one point, the only company you could have wrestled for was WWE. Snow. Bye, Arthur. Anyway, so you had to work your ass off to get there on the indie scene. The indie scene didn't pay squatly DP shit. So when you did make it, you got what they deserve. So people don't understand a couple things here. To get to that point, you have to eat a lot of shit. You got to deal with a lot of shit. And if people think you will be treated really well when you make it up there, you're wrong. You're not the Hogans. You're not the Undertakers. You're not a Stone Cold. You're not the Rocks. Those are a few people who will sit there and make it very well. They won't be treated like shit that we know of. Unfortunately, you see all these major empires that are up here, all the big wrestlers. But eventually, like I said before, they will fall from grace. The Rock is one of the few people who hasn't fallen from grace yet. Even Hogan has fallen from grace, if you really think about it. Yeah, he still has a lot of money, but he's not making near what he used to make when he was actually the main guy in the company. Makes you think. Where are we going with this? So, what is your opinions? Do powerful men actually lose their power? Does anybody think I'm wrong? I'd like to hear that. Do we actually, when we get up there on Mount Olympus, yeah, we're going to fall, but we're going to fall that bad? A lot of them fall. I'm going to use Trump, for example, before presidency, before you guys started bashing me in the comments. Before he was president, he did a lot of business screw-ups. But he learned from them. He got up. So I think my point of that is you can fall, but you can get back up again. There are a bunch of times people fall. That's the question now. Let's see who's coming in or not. So I'm waiting for my guests to show up because they're slackers. That's what I'm gonna call them. They're all slackers, falling behind. Definitely the wise man. He's falling behind. Anyway, so here's my thing. Here, let me bring some of my notes up because this is very important to hear this. Power. First note I have is power. Whew. Now, how would you define power in somebody? Power is something you can control in their eyes. Most people who have power like that, are dictators in my eyes. I haven't met a lot of those people. They won't give up. They won't till they get what they want. They're always going to be one step ahead. They're always trying to be there. All right, we got a comment from Arthur. It's like being a boss. Larger boss loses power by demanding and how they treat employees. Leadership against employees by respect and responsibility. That's how I feel. Okay, so here's where I'm going to agree and disagree. So I agree on what you're saying, Arthur, about power. They're saying, you know what? I fucking tell you, you go scrub that goddamn fucking toilet. But I'm a cook. I don't give a fuck. You go scrub that fucking toilet. So how about you ask me, hey, Arthur, I know it's not your job, dude. Can you do me a favor and go clean the bathroom, please? You might get a little more out of that. So that is a big question 22, I would think. Because how could you ask somebody to do something that's under them and still get the same response? Either way, people might take it the wrong way. A lot of different ways. But how are you going to take it? So for people who don't know, me and Arthur used to work together. Some people think he's above me. Some people think I was above him. But the truth is, I was always cooler than him. But seriously, all joking aside, where did people come? I knew where I came from. I remember busting tables, being in the dish room, still in the dish room sometimes, scrubbing plates, taking orders. That's where I came from. I love when people don't have zero experience with the fuck they're doing, and they take the leadership, and their response was, I always get what I want. Really? That's interesting. Always get what you want. Very interesting. And that makes me wonder, are you sure? Author's comment is, we worked either way. We respect each other. That's debatable. That's debatable. I'm kidding, Author. So, I will say this. You do get a lot more out of respect. 100%. I'm not going to deny that one bit. It's always going to be, that's the way it has to be. No matter what. It has to be that way. All right, so I'm starting getting people in the background. So, guys, I need you guys to turn your cameras on, number one, and put your mics on because I cannot see who's there and I can't hear anybody. Cannot put you guys on the air if I don't see who's on there first. All right, one person dropped. I have one person with no camera still. And I hear my voice in the background. So can you please fix that so I can get you in the studio mode? If you need help, please hit me up on the side. All right, to that point, Arthur's right. We did respect each other. All right. Whoever's camera's on, not off, please stop tapping the mic because I can hear it in my eardrums. Can you speak, please, so I can see who this is so I can help you fix your camera problem? Wiseman, is that you over there? If this is the Wiseman, I'm going to strangle him. So, yeah, we always did respect each other. Never had a question about that. Always respect each other. And it was a great time working together. Always was. Except when I was yelling at we were yelling at each other when we tried to kill each other. Because, well, it's in the kitchen. What do you expect? We always try to kill each other in the kitchen. That's the fun part about it. All right, Arthur? Always the fun part. So, I was saying, Spartan Arena. We're here to break boundaries today. Once my guests show up. Yeah, the funny part, me and him used to argue in the locker room too. Sometimes it was about politics. Sometimes about, just losing weight. Sometimes it was about girls. Sometimes it was him being a goddamn bonehead. That's right. Giving you a buzzer for that, Arthur. Arthur, you know what? I have a good idea. You want to join us tonight? Let me know if you do. I'll send you the link. It'd be great to have you up here. Get your, shyness away a little bit. Brush those things off. You want to come on? Seriously. Don't be scared. Nah, people are going to bite. I promise you that. All right, I got my first guest on. Finally, get somebody to talk to besides myself. I got to get you guys here on time more now. All right, guys, you know him. He is one of the new members of the Grooming and Reviews channel and family. And I am talking about the legend himself, Arnold Schwarzenegger, a.k.a. Nick. Yo, what's up, my man? This is where you speak, Nick. Go ahead. You can say.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
My bad, man. What's going on? Just let me fix your volume on my side a little bit. It's a little low. So, did you catch my opening intro? Try now.
Yeah, a little bit. I was trying to get the stream thing to work, but it wasn't working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. If anybody can hear him, please put a 1 in the comments. It'll be appreciated. So, okay. So tonight we're talking about why do powerful men lose power. So my open statement was one of it is disciplined. The second one I also think is people go obsessed with it, and 3, they want more. So when you hear that, when men lose power, what do you think?
I think this is a very important topic, and it has a lot of different layers to it.
I agree.
Audio is good.
Yeah, you're good. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you have a delay on your side?
It's getting like a kickback after I like say something. It's like playing it back on my screen. Sorry about that.
No, you're
But
fine. So that means something is playing in the
yeah,
background.
so I don't know.
Is the stream open in the background?
Okay, let me do it that way. Is that better?
I hear you completely fine.
Okay, so you can hear me now, okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, so definitely a lot of different layers to this. In regard to like men, power, demise, I think it really comes down to the man himself and
Mm-hmm.
how that man is showing up as a leader, whether he's sort of leading himself or he's basically going after vices and things that are going to tear him down. Like a good analogy of this is sort of like if we look at the Bible. So you have someone like Jesus that's going through and they're like fighting temptation and they're fighting the negativity and they're fighting vices in order to become a righteous man. And then once you become a righteous man, you then have a positive power. And I think that the downfall of man really comes down to the abuse of that, like greed, sloth, gluttony. So a lot of the sins really tearing the man down. It's like his own personal desire will take him to a place of demise because it's almost like the higher you go up, the harder you're going to fall when you're not doing the right thing. So that could come down to addictions. That could come down to abuse. That could come down to sort of the greed and hunger for power and control of others. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking at through that lens, it's basically an abuse of that type of power. So it's coming from a very negative place. Whereas if you do it from a more righteous place, self leadership, self authority, you're really taking care of yourself. You're coming from a positive place, and you're leading from the front through righteousness. I think that's really the key here.
So, I agree. I will also say some other things too. Your childhood. If you hang on one second. Author, which side do you hear echo from? From my side or Nick's side? Let me know so I can fix the problem if it's on my side. So let's say you were raised. Let's say you were raised. You had an abusive father, for example, and you starved your whole life. You never ate anything. That is trauma that you cannot fix, unfortunately. It's one of those things that, as much as you want to fix that problem, I don't think you can ever fix extreme trauma. You agree or disagree on that, Nick? All right. So, Nick, I'm getting feedback. You're getting an echo on your side. Let me see if I can fix it on my side. I don't think it is, but let me see what I can do on this side. But go ahead. You
I
can
may
answer
try
that
to
question really
reload the
fast.
screen because I have like no audio coming out of here at all, so I can't hear anything back.
Huh.
So let me cancel out and let me reload and see if that fixes all this.
Okay. Yeah. And I will continue talking about the stream. All right. So the trauma on somebody's childhood is a big factor of how he comes out. Like myself, I had a pretty decent childhood. Can't say it was perfect. Nobody's childhood is perfect, in my opinion. How do you overcome things? As much I want to sit here and tell you, yes, you can overcome anything. Unfortunately, that's not a factor. You cannot always overcome everything. Sometimes it's driven up here that you cannot let it go, unfortunately. It's just one of those things. It makes you think. Excuse me. All right, let me try to get Nick back in here to see if we can fix that. His audio problem. Give it a second load. I can hear you fine on my side. Can you hear me? No. That is so weird. This happened earlier today too. You can't hear me at all. You know what? Let me try something, Nick. All right. So whoever has the stream, I'm gonna resend everything to you because some reason this link is not working. I'm gonna reload the link. Give me a second, guys. That means I gotta send it to every son of a bitch. God damn it. All right, Nick. I'll send you a new link. Give me 2 minutes, all right, man? Let's do this. All right, so let's try this one. All right, Nick, I'm going to disconnect you, and I'll give you a new link right now. Because for some reason, that one's not working. I don't know why. Here, try going into that one and see if that fixes the problem. Because I had that issue earlier today. Guys, bear with me 1 second because I don't know what's going on with that link. I had the same problem earlier today. Nick, you went back into the same link. Use the other one I just sent you. The second one. Guys, bear with us 1 second. I'm saying why we're having all these technical issues today. They're tech. Gotta love it, right?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, I got you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was having an issue with the headphones on the mic. So now I'm using the camera mic and camera.
All right, let me copy you, bring you over here. Hang on 1 second so I can get you back in here. Don't know if it's the link or that's what I'm trying to figure out. Which one is it? There you are. All right. So,
All right.
okay. Did you hear my last question or we want to repeat that again?
If you could repeat it, that'd be great.
Okay, so I said it depends how you were raised. A lot of things can happen to you as a childhood. You could be, maybe not enough food. Your parents might beat you. X, Y, Z. Who knows? Do you feel that's a factor of somebody growing to be powerful and losing the power over time because they were in power crates? In other words.
100%. That could sort of dictate sort of our perceptions of how we view things. That could also pull up like old traumas from the
Mm-hmm.
past. But I do personally think it's man's responsibility to like face himself and face his own demons and sort of have to work through that. Like that is the biggest part of being a man is being able to look at oneself and really uncover all of those layers piece by piece, and basically let the light come out to the surface. So I myself have a sort of crazy past. I had a crazy way growing up, and it's taken many years to really uncover those layers and really peel them back and remove them out of the way. Years ago, it used to cause me a lot of trouble, deep depression, addiction, drugs, alcohol abuse, all types of stuff. And over time, as we're able to, it takes a lot of courage to really dive that deep and really look in the mirror to be like, wow, like this is where this is coming from, and I'm willing to face it head on, and I'm willing to like work through that and remove it. And I think that the biggest problem we have, especially in today's society, is that we put the mask up, because the mask comes through vaping, the mask comes through alcohol, the mask comes through porno, the mask comes through all these different vices. They're almost like comfort blankets. When things get too painful or things get too hard, people seek those things for
Mm-hmm.
comfort, and then they never make progress in dealing with trauma and personal issues because they're always shielding it. They're always putting up an armor. So I think it's our mission to really undo that armor and take it off and really sort of get to the center of things.
So one of the questions I was going to ask is more a statement, and I want you to see what you think about that. Power with dictatorship.
Yeah, I think in regard to that, I think it really just comes down to the individual themselves, and I think that's just sort of an abuse. It's like, almost like a greed for power. And then what sort of happens with some of those people is they've achieved all these other things in life. Maybe they got money, maybe they got a certain status, and once they achieve all that, there's like no other desires. So their last desire becomes control, because that's the only other thing they can sort of do. And that's like the negative, that's the shadow side of these characteristics coming out.
Hmm. That is a very, very, very good point. So I believe as a man, you need to recognize that problem. But the problem is, by the time you recognize it, it might be too late sometimes. I think me and you can sit here and have comfortable, very mature and comfortable conversation. Say, we recognize early enough in our life. Say, hey, I need fucking help, and we got our helps. I use my vaping for example. I know that shit was fucking killing me. I tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried and tried until I quit vaping. And I can sit here confidently saying 6 months later, I did it. So what excuse do you have then? That's the question I have now.
As in,
In general,
repeat the
making
question
making
again?
excuses, just making excuses. People love to make excuses why they don't want to change.
Yeah, change is hard. It's not comfortable. Change is hard. Sometimes when it comes to change, we may have to get rid of our old identity. Like we got to become a brand new person in the process. Not everyone is ready to do that. And I think that's a really important factor, that sometimes we have to shed the old version of ourselves in order to step into the new version. We may have to get rid of our old identity. Like we got to become a brand new person
Okay,
in
we're
the
getting an
process.
echo again for some reason. I don't know why.
Ready to do that.
And that usually means he's on your side, Nick.
Factor
Am I in speaker on your side?
Yeah, because the other audio is not really working too well.
So try to plug it in because we're using a different link now, and that should be fix the problem.
That's clearer.
Yeah, but I still can hear
Okay.
myself in the background.
You can't hear yourself?
Nope. Okay, it went away now.
Oh.
Nope, it's still there.
Uh, all right, now you could hear okay without the echo?
So far, so good.
Oh, okay. Maybe that
Can you
will
hear me?
work. Yeah.
No, I can hear it again. I don't know. It's coming from your side.
Are we better now?
No, it's still there. Because I can
Oh,
see it because it's coming from your browser.
I have the camera on. I have this mic, and I have this as audio.
Do you have anything open in the background, like me or anything?
No, I have Facebook. Maybe close Facebook. Is that better?
I can hear it.
Good.
Still there. Let me get our next guest up here as we're trying to figure this out. All right. As we're trying to fix our audio, let's welcome our next guest on the panel. Welcome, and how are you doing tonight? Can you hear us? Can you hear us? All right. I'm changing this whole freaking thing around right now. Okay, Nick, I think the echo went away, whatever it was.
Okay. Are we clear?
So far, so good. Now, I can hear you
All
in the
right.
background,
Hopefully
dude. It's
that.
coming from somehow on your end. I don't know. Where is it
Yeah.
coming from?
I have no idea.
All right.
Still hear the echo?
Yeah. Okay, let me see if she gets the new link. I don't know where is it coming from. I'm trying to figure that out. It's literally coming every time that goes off. Your mic goes off.
Can you hear now? I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, there you go. Okay. Better?
All right. Yeah, I can hear the echo.
What's causing?
Yeah, that when an echo comes from your side and it's coming from your side, it means something in the background opened, then it's repeating it. I don't know what it is.
Everything's closed. Still there?
All right, let me see something here really fast. Try now.
Okay, clear? No?
Yeah, I found the problem. So you were connected on both links, so it was repeating itself.
Oh, apologize.
No, you're good, man. Go ahead, finish what you're saying. I'm sorry. We'll fix the problem. That's what matters.
Yeah. All right, now we're all good. Where did we leave off here?
About childhood, we were talking about.
Yeah. So basically, it's really hard to take that deep dive and dive a little deeper. Sometimes there's a lot of traumas there, and it's okay because we're all human. So when we go through painful experiences, we go through trauma. Sometimes we do want to cover that up. But as we get older and we're maturing and we're going through the years, we start to realize that some of that we're dragging through with us, almost like a cannonball tied to our legs. And at some point, we got to start cutting the chain and leaving that stuff in the past in order to become the new version of ourselves.
I totally agree. 100%. This is a very complicated question and answers. So one of the first questions is, what are some common plateaus or factors that are downfall of a powerful man through history?
It really comes down to one word, and that one word is desire. Nothing wrong with wanting, but it's part of the masculine is having ambition, having desire, having the want to achieve. But when that's perverted, that's where we run into the problems.
Mm-hmm. So, history has proven one thing. Men with power always find a way to fuck it up. Roman Empire, Greek Empire, Egyptian Empire, Japanese Empire. What is one thing common in them, do you think?
It's control. It's the need to want to control, as opposed to sort of like letting go of control. Like wanting to control others is not coming from a good place. Like we're all individual, we're all unique, we're all free beings, and so when one human being wants to control another human being or control a mass of human beings, that's a big problem.
Yeah, control is a big thing. And people don't realize that you can control something, because if you control something, you're going to be fighting it tooth and nail. Simple as that. The more you fight, the more problems you're going to have. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Now, the second question I have: how does the control of roles and dictatorship and leadership, powerful men, including what they are assuming and experiencing over time?
How does it play into that?
Mm-hmm.
So this sort of goes back to what you brought up before with the comment about work. And the good metaphor here is you have two types of leaders. You have one leader that jumps into this position. They didn't work from the bottom. They just jumped in at the top. And because of that, they think they hold all this authority, and then they tell people what to do. They're yelling at people, screaming at people. They're really abusing their power. Where you have the other leader that, in the way they got here, is they started from the very bottom. Maybe they were mopping floors first. Maybe they were cleaning toilets first. Then they got a little bit of a promotion. Now they're at the next level. Then they got a little bit of promotion. Over time, maybe they became a manager. Over time, now they're becoming a higher up because of that. When that person goes through that process, there's a humility that comes with that, and therefore they become a way better leader, as opposed to the person that's just trying to jump in at the top, without doing all the hard work to rise up the ladder.
Now, let me ask you a question. What happened if the person who is rising up the ladder went through the lakes, had only, like, say, $5-6 in their pocket, and now they're a multi-million-dollar or even multi-billion-dollar person? What'd you say about that? And they're losing power then?
It comes down back to the vices and almost back to sin. Without getting like too religious, there's something to that. When people are acting from a place of greed and like lust and want, we do a lot of negative things. But there's also a lot of examples in the world of people that have risen to that level of power that are using it for good, where they're able to help a lot of people. They're able to initiate a lot of great changes. So it really just comes down to the individual, and it's basically the place that the individual is coming from. If they're coming from a negative place, they're going to experience negativity. If they're coming from a very positive place and have a pure heart, they're going to be able to do a lot of amazing positive things.
So let me ask you a question. Have you followed up with the whole WWE thing lately?
A little bit.
Okay, so short version of it, because I want to touch base on that a little bit, because I think it goes well with our story tonight. So he got caught sex trafficking, prostitution, all this sexual stuff, right? There are text messages saying he literally took dumps. I mean, literally dumps on women. That's how sick this son of a bitch is. And this guy has millions of dollars. I can look up right now what his worth is at this point in time. But what do you think about that? Like what we're talking about with that?
It's a weird thing with human nature. It comes back down to like desire and want. The more we want and the more we desire, it's a never-ending cycle, because once we get that, then we want more. And once we get that, then we want more. So in that like type of example, maybe, yeah, he did start from the bottom and he rose and he built this amazing business and he built this big organization, but like that still wasn't enough. And that's where the perversion and some of this stuff comes into play. It's like that they just want more and more and more. And when you're chasing that, it's a never ending cycle because there's no finish line. And that's how some of this stuff happens, like these heinous crimes and some of this weird perverted stuff that goes on. And the reason for that is just like constant desire. There's no humility. Humility comes from it like going back to the concept of stoicism, like minimalism, stoicism, being grounded with little. That because the man, basically the man that wants the least is the most happy. The man that wants the most will never be happy, because he'll never be able to acquire every single thing. Because once he does get those things, then he's going to desire even more things, and that cycle will never end.
So, because there are stories out there about him, some of these are very sick. So, whoever has a weak stomach, please understand this is facts. I'm not bringing anything up. To the point, like, he even has storylines saying, "Oh, we should maybe," because when she was pregnant, go, "We'll say, I don't know, I'm the father," and Stephanie's daughter goes, "Ew, you're fucking sick, dude." No, that's not bad. You're right. We'll say your brother's the father of this child. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the hell? I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? Like, this is what he's worth at this moment. So I don't think he's hurting for money. It's $2.8 billion. How the hell all that money you have? I don't understand this. You have to get to that point. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well, that's the thing is once they acquire all the things that they were looking to acquire, their cup is still empty. So yeah, they may have tons of cars, they may have tons of houses, they may have tons of vacations. Now it's not. It loses some of its worth, because now they could just purchase anything at any moment in time, and because of that, there's still an empty void. because we get real fulfillment from going inside and finding like what truly makes us happy. But if we're running through life and we never start to ask ourselves those questions, then we'll never find the answers. And that's what happens with some of these people. It just gets so out of control, and they end up hurting a lot of people in the process. They do a lot of damage in the process, and
Agree.
it's just a sick cycle.
So, like, I have Mariana. I'm going to put her on the screen right now, her comment, and I actually agree with this. And I want to see your feedback. Greed and power goes hand in hand. I think she meant hand to hand, but I think we both understand what she's trying to say. So, what's your opinion behind that comment?
Absolutely. It's because if you're coming from a place of greed, then the power that you exert is automatically going to be a negative. However, there is a flip side of the coin. When you're coming from a place is automatically going to be a negative. When you come from a place of righteousness, you could still have power, but it could be shown in a more positive way.
Mm-hmm. So,
however, there is a flip side of the coin. When you're coming from a place is automatically going to be a negative.
Again,
When you come from a place of righteousness, you could still have power. Coming from a place is automatically going to be a negative.
I feel my computer's obsessed today. Goddamn King, I'm gonna blame him because he started this last week. So with the power obsession is what are you obsessing over with? Like, is it money? Is it women? Is it a man? It could be either way. It could be both. The question is, how far is somebody going to obsess with something like that? In a way, it's disgusting. And that goes to one of my comments here is habit overreaching. Think about that for a minute and then answer it.
It's overreaching? What was the comment?
It's habits. No, you have the habits, good habits, bad habits, whatever, and reaching.
Yeah. Yeah, and it all comes down to it's basically both paths. You could come from the place of righteousness and good, or you come from a place of evil and sin. And that's like the biggest battle we go through. Like heaven and hell is a state of the mind. It's how we're looking at things. So if you're going after greed and power and gluttony, a lot of negative is going to happen out of that. But if you're going to get power because you want to maybe help feed all the hungry people in the world, that's coming from a much different place, and you could still be very powerful and have a lot of influence, but you have a lot of good behind it.
And I agree. One thing I do not agree on is overreaching could be a good thing if you're reaching for a goal. Use my goal, for example, me trying to lose weight. I'm going to reach for the stars no matter what. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I could be obsessed with it. But if it doesn't hurt anybody or does any damage, use what's his name? What's his name who owns Tesla? You know what I'm talking about.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. He hasn't hurt anybody or anything like that, but he's an overreacher. He already said that. Only issue he has a problem being alone in life. He has admitted that on camera. So you can do whatever you want and not hurt anybody in the process. Think about it. Tesla, when he started that, he almost bankrupted everything he ever built for. From SpaceX to whatever. He was sleeping on the ground because he believed in the Tesla project so much. He couldn't not let it go through. And I give him credit for that. It went through very well. I don't think it's the best one, but it is what it is. And I have a comment from Hashim, our wise man, who's scared to come on camera today. The more you get, the more some people want is never enough. And that is a very good point, actually. Think about it. If you do, before I do that, Hashim, I did send you a new link. Try the new link. The first one has issues. I don't know. It's buggy. I blame King. Anyway, so he has a good point. Pretend we're just average friends, me and you, all right? And you're not the person you are. And I know you're pretty decent by now. Over these years, we know each other. So, and you see me working my ass off, and I went from having, let's say, I don't know, a karate school, for argument's sake, okay? And turn into 2, 3, 4, eventually a franchise. Like a McDonald's almost. Everywhere you turn. All of a sudden, you remember, I remember my buddy Pete, I could get a couple, a loaner from him. And I help you out. I help you out twice, 3, 4, 5 times. But every time you're in jam, you keep coming to me. Eventually, I'm going to say no. Then you're going to say, what, I'm not good enough for you? You're talking shit about me behind my back. Think about it for a second. Like he said, and I'll put the comment back on the screen. The more you get, the more some people want is never enough. When is enough is enough.
We have to make that decision ourselves. This really ties into the concept of addiction. This is like at the root of all addictions. It's one thing to maybe have a drink here and there. It's another thing, smoke here and there. Whatever you're going to do, that's your choice. But what happens is you get that, or you get that little high, or you get that little buzz, and then sometimes that's not enough. And then you want to do it again next weekend, and then next weekend, and then after a while, now it's like, well, maybe I'll do it like 3 times a week. And then boom, you start doing it 3 times a week. And now it's like, oh shit, now I'm doing it every day. And then that's still not enough. And now you're doing it all day from the moment you wake up till the moment you go to sleep. So it ties into that concept almost exactly. And that's at the base of all addictions, whether it's addiction to power, whether it's addiction to control, whether it's addiction to substances. That's really what it is. So we have to almost understand our own limits, and this is why negative things happen sometimes. It's a way that sort of pulls us back to the ground. It grounds us. It humbles us. Because if we don't find the limit ourselves, we will be shown the limit. So we can choose to find our own limits and work with those, or we can be shown the limit and sort of plummet.
So, here's the thing with that part. I kind of disagree. Definitely with smoking, because obviously where I came from. Smoking is such a high addiction thing. So it depends what you're doing. Okay, drinking. Okay, you may go for 1 week to 2 week and 3 week, and I know that builds up over time. Same thing with, some other drugs. But nicotine and some other drugs, it only take one time to get addicted. How do you answer that question then?
It all depends on the person. There's people that could have substances and they're completely okay, and it doesn't rule them at all. And then there's other people that they get that one taste, and that's it. It's a wrap. It just gets worse and worse from there. So it really just comes down to the person themselves.
And that's the thing. You have to know when to back off. Seriously. Backing off is the most important thing to anything. And if you don't know when to back off, that's where problems happen. And that goes to the second thing right here. Where is it? Leaps and bounds. Think about it. And then think about it. Let's have a discussion in a second on that. Because leap and bounds. What is the first thing that comes to your head with it when I say that?
Wanting more. It's pushing out and reaching for more.
Okay. So, but when is it enough? Like,
don't
let me ask you a
have a
question
set
before we go
answer for
ahead.
that.
How comfortable are you talking about your past, first of all?
100% comfortable.
Okay. So you had an addiction problem at one time, correct?
Yeah, really bad.
Okay. Well, can I ask what were you addicted to?
So I was a club promoter, and it started with alcohol, and then I got into club drugs, ecstasy, cocaine, and I started going. And that's what happened is I was going to the club maybe once a month. Then I started going every weekend. Then I started going Friday and Saturday, and then it turned at one point at its worst was almost every night of the week. I was at some form of nightclub doing some type of substance.
So you fell into the night trap, in other words, correct?
Yeah, just exhilarating, thrilling, novelty, like new experiences all the time.
So what would you say to you as from that experience, from what we're talking about, all these statements I just made, like power, uh, habit, overreaching, leap and bound, any of this stuff. Where
Yeah,
do
so
go
so
ahead?
so so me overreaching and abusing all that actually brought me to my downfall. And that's how I like learned some of this stuff is through my own personal experience because I was doing that for a while. Um, Basically, where that started from is I had a bad breakup when I was a teenager. Um, Left me for my best friend. I lost a best friend in the process. I lost a girl in the process. And then after, I just sort of made a commitment to myself that I'm just going to have the time of my life. I don't care if I die from this. I don't care what happens. I'm just going to live every single day like it's a party. And that lasted for a little while, and it got to the point where it wasn't novel or fun anymore, and I started to realize that, and I was like, wow, I'm sort of doing the same thing all the time. There may be different people, different music, different substances, but I'm doing the same thing all the time. And then I got into a really, really, really bad depression, and sort of once all the glitz and the glamour went away, I was like really and down in the dumps. And I was so bad that it's like severe, severe depression. And I got to the point that I actually like loaded up a gun and put a gun to my head. Didn't do anything, but that was a real big turning point for me because it like was a huge wake up call. I'm like, how did this even happen? I just sort of I don't know what happened. Like things were so great, and then it comes down to like the downfall, like build, build, build real high, and then I crashed so low.
So we have our second guest of the night, and she's known as a spicy craziness, the beautiful housewife. And of course, she needs to put her 2 cents in here. I always and I got a bone to pick with her. Let's get her in here. I actually have a big bone to pick with her. Let me get this all set up here. Hang on a second, guys, because okay, House, how you doing? First of all, you're muted.
Hold on.
There
I
you
am
go.
trying to get a hold of this. Oh God, let's see.
We're having tech issues tonight, guys. So I'm gonna go. It's not you. Do you remember my friend King? He caused a ripple effect last week. He was on, and ever since then, me and everybody or our groups been having issues with texts right and left. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I hear it twice. That's my thing. I'm like, what's going on?
Twice. So nothing's open in my background. Let me check here.
Okay. Okay, I see it.
Oh, you found it?
I got it. All right. Now I'm back to reality.
Yay! Let's give a round of applause. All right, House, how you doing? First of all,
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to make it to your live tonight and see what's going on.
okay. Me and you, we have a little beef tonight. So,
Okay.
the beef is here. I gotta hear you whining.
What?
Remember you said that in your email. Oh, you gotta hear me
Yeah,
whining.
I like you want to hear me be whiny on
You're not
live.
whining. I
Fine, that's
love your
cool.
I love hearing your feedback. I really do. You're not whining. So I'm
Okay.
usually the whining a little bitch here, right here. But
Oh,
but
don't talk about your friend like.
I was talking about myself.
Oh, don't talk about yourself like that.
All right. So we're talking about powerful men that lose power. So Nick is just explaining his story that he had a pretty bad addiction at one point, and that he fell from Mount Olympus straight down, hit his ass, and came back up as a stronger and better man. So first of all,
Yeah.
I want to give a grout to Nick.
I mean,
Overcome.
look at his glasses. I mean, he's cool. You know what I'm saying?
Got her for the screens.
Yeah. Nick is actually one of the greatest guys I know. Remember I was telling you I know a personal trainer that is really good as a coach and everything?
Yes.
Meet Nick. And that's what I was talking
I
about. So we're leaving off his addiction when he fell down. From what you hear so far, what is your feedback? So we can go from there for our conversation.
No, it's a story about a lot of us. Sometimes we get into situations we think we can handle, and it gets out of control. That's anybody. Sometimes our curiosity, sometimes we turn to things, and sometimes they take control of us. And like sometimes you have people around you that are trying to help you and pull you out of it and make you see like, hey man, you're going down the wrong path. But we're like, yeah, I got it. Our ego gets in the way with a lot of things, and until we hit, like as he said, that wall, that realization, that epiphany, um that's the only thing that's really going to wake us up to change our trajectory, so that we can either stay in that way or be better. And that only is on our own choice.
Yes, I agree 100% on that. So, by that said, I'm going to throw the next question so we can continue to that. And let me get my notes back up here. So, the next question was in what way can you lip side, well, lip side, or lose control of what you have built over social media and over social power? Who wants to take those first? Go for it. Well, you.
Okay.
She loves this stuff. I can see her face.
No. I mean, definitely one way from I've learned, and this is just my personal life because I built, a few things, is a lack of consistency.
Facts.
Like if you're not on it, you lose it. Like if you're not working out, personal trainer, you're gonna get fat. You're gonna lose your muscle. You're gonna get weak. You're gonna get slow. And when you stop that consistency, like things start to pile up. Depends on what it is, or you get behind, or you lose that momentum that you started building. So like people are used to seeing you around, like, oh yeah, he's dropping jewels, he's dropping gems, and then you fall off for a whole month. You lost all that momentum you built up. And so like the people are like, well, where's Peter, and show me how to clean my beard up and everything. Well, I'm gonna go to somebody else. So you lose everything when you kind of aren't consistent with it. And that goes to relationships. When you're not consistent with your relationships, things start falling off. And your diet, things start falling. So I think that that's a true foundation for when things do go awry, is that lack of consistency.
Okay. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Definitely a good point.
So, now let me ask you guys both a question here. And this one is a little. I have my opinion about it, and I mentioned it when before you guys showed up. In history, we always have men who are very powerful. Alexander the Great, King Leonidas, Caesar, and so on. Now we have men who are powerful like Trump, Biden, Elon Musk, and so on. What do you think is the difference between then and now? I'm making her to think. I know that look of hers.
Not no dictatorship.
Hey, I hear him somewhere back there. Oh, there's one person. All right, let me get him on here. All right. Hashim, I can hear you, but I cannot see you. You gotta turn your camera on, dude.
Camera's on.
No, it's not.
I can see them
You can see him?
both.
All right. Hey, Paul, what's going on, bud?
What's good, everybody? Good evening.
What's good? What's good?
Good evening.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
All right.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
You guys go ahead until I get Hashim out here. Give me 1 second to get it out here. Whoa! I knew that ugly guy's around here somewhere. There he is.
I'm hanging around.
All right, Hashim, you can take this next question. Go ahead, buddy.
What's the question?
The question was, what is the difference in history of men in power in history versus now?
Men in power in history. Then now. Going on what you were saying about Leonidas and Caesar and all them, the first thing that's going to come to my mind is dictatorship. It's people now have more to say. You have more saying. Before, you didn't have no say. It was you had to do what they say, and that was it. So it's like you have you have mouth now. Before it was off with your head. Yeah.
Yeah. Paul, how are you, my brother?
I am doing well. I am doing well. So is the question, what's the difference between leaders or strongmen of the past versus now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, clearly, I mean, democracies. I mean, where the people certainly have a choice over the leaders that they pick. However, it's still a little bit of a shell game in that the people who really are in charge are the ones you don't necessarily see. I think corporations or corporate leaderships, I keep bringing this up as a reference, but one movie that I would recommend that everybody see, it's an old sci-fi flick. It's called Rollerball, 1975, James Caan. And it was very prophetic in terms of the future that was projected in that film versus what you're seeing today. So where the real power isn't necessarily in the person that you're seeing. It's the person, it's the corporations and the money that is really behind everything. So again, that it's more so more like puppets, sort of at the top more so than what you had before. But the guys back in the day, they're the ones who control the industry. They're the ones who control corporations. They really rule by an iron fist. And they controlled the means of production and all those things. So when these guys were true, had dictatorships or kingdoms or whatever, it was pretty well decided. But I think corporations in general, corporate entities in general, are really the ones who are really running things today. So I think that's a main difference. But certainly the fact that the impressions that people certainly do have the right to pick their leaders, that you have constitutions in place. That allow for that process. But again, it's still skewed in a lot of ways. I mean, like the electoral college is highly biased towards certain individuals. So, I think it's not perfect, but I think that's sort of the impression that they want to give, that you have power to, impact things at the polls, which and I believe in voting. I'm not one of those anti-vote guys, but I think, people need a better education in terms of how the system really works so you can better know how to leverage it to your advantage.
I want to come back to that voting thing in a second, Paul. So hang on to that thought. Wife, next.
Well, I'm not highly knowledgeable on a lot of things, but definitely those men during those times, like was stated, there was a king, there was one authority, and if there was any opposition, they were sending out their warriors and their knights to go after you, okay? Or they'll make a public display of you and say, well, if you come against the king, this is what's going to happen. Ching, ching, it was over. And they were willing to go to war. They fought. They really, fought to keep their power. What the king said, he couldn't really go back on his word. Those types of things. And and I in the past, but I also agree with Dr. Bennett that there's bigger things that we see that are in rule. So it kind of is the
So let me
same.
touch base really fast, wife. It depends which culture you're talking about. The Vikings culture, that I know for a fact. I'm not Viking, I'm Greek, so this get, but I have educated myself a little bit. The Viking culture, you could have, if you were, let's say you had challenged the log. The log was the who was the head of your clan. You can challenge them on a 1-1 battle. Only one is coming out there alive, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But you could challenge it. It's really rare when that happened, but it did happen. Only in Viking culture, every like Greek, Roman, Japanese, Chinese, Egyptian, you couldn't challenge it. If you challenge them, you're done.
Yeah, definitely. You couldn't challenge anything,
Correct.
and we really, really had like I mean, they back then they really had like the classes. So it was like they were the ruling class, and they had most of the say, and then there was the peasants that really didn't have any say.
Yeah. All right, Nick, you're about.
Groomin, I had a question for you. When did Greece go away from, like, I know, like Britain, for example, they had, the royalty for some time, and then in more modern times, they, created parliament, and you had the power of the royal family was greatly diminished, almost to a ceremonial role. But when did Greece move away from like Caesars and things of that nature to a more democratic or more centralized government type of situation? Around what time was that? I don't know much about
I
that.
don't know the exact date off my head, but the last king that recently died, King Costantino the Second. Fun fact: my grandma actually served for him. She was a maid in the palace. He was the last king, and it was in a coup against him from President Papadopoulos. They raised a coup and went after him. The president, I mean, the king back then at the time, I think it was 1940s. I want to say the king wasn't any power role, nothing with the military, nothing with the government. He advised them. Now, if something was going down shady wise, that's where he stepped in. He had flexed his power. Like, listen, this is my country. End of the day, no, we're not doing that. He can put a stop to something,
Right.
but he couldn't
But you
change
said, but
something.
you mentioned king. Yeah. But you
Go ahead.
mentioned king though. So when did they move from the title of say Caesar to king? Because Caesar
I got
seemed
to
to
do
be
research
like
on that.
the yeah. Okay.
Greece never had Caesars; always had kings. That's Roman. You're thinking
Okay. Okay.
that's a Roman Empire. The Roman Empire
Gotcha.
tried to
Gotcha.
conquer Greece, but we had the Spartans, so good luck with that.
I wouldn't go well.
Hey, I gotta give you one thing.
This is Sparta!
Don't make me get the helmet out.
All right.
All right, Nick, you're up, bud.
Yeah, I agree with what's being said here. That it was way different, sort of back in the past, and now it's even worse because we almost wish sometimes we could speak out against those in charge. And what happens now is with cancel culture, you'll just sort of be canceled out of the equation altogether.
Bingo.
So in a way, they're still maintaining power, but they're doing it from a way different perspective this time around.
That is facts. And that's happens all the time. Look at all these. Trump, great example. When he was president, he was tweeting everything. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you he was a good president or a bad president. That's your business what you think. But what I will say was he should have stayed off goddamn Twitter and did his goddamn job. Like he was more busy tweeting away. Like I am going to the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning. Send. I am going to eat ice cream. Send. I'm like, seriously, dude? A little TMI there, buddy. But let me ask you guys
But
this question. Go ahead.
but
Go
if
for it.
he was just a regular dude anyway off the street, like if he was just a regular businessman that operated like that anyway, does he necessarily have to switch up and change because he's a president and not be human as well?
But the same factor is would they even care as much? He was tweeting so much he was just regular Joe.
I think so. It was Trump. He was always what he was doing. He was partying before he was president. So they still was talking about him.
Trump has been in the highlights for I don't know how long.
For years.
Yeah, certainly since the 80s. I remember because I'm a big boxing fan, so I remember back in the 80s, Trump Plaza in Atlantic City here in New Jersey had a lot of fights here. So like Mike Tyson, a lot of those big fights were held at Trump Plaza. So that's the first I knew of him was certainly in the 80s. So he was around
boxing. He was wrestling. He was around all over.
Fun fact: I don't know if you guys remember. Hashim is old enough to remember this. He actually started his own NFL. It was something back then. His own football league, and
he didn't start the league. He was an owner. He owned the New Jersey Generals.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah. He didn't found the league. The USFL. That was they only lasted like 2 seasons, 84 to 80. I think 85.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about then.
Yeah.
Okay. I was a little off. I was close enough. Right. But let me ask you this question: do you guys think a physical appearance has a factor in power?
Historically, no. Like Nero and some of these other guys, Hitler. I don't know if you can say that in this space here, but obviously their statue was, and the crazy thing about Hitler was, I mean, he didn't even look like the people he was promoting. He was talking about like this Aryan race, but he didn't look anything like those guys. He would have been, if the roles were reversed, he would have been one of the guys they would have discarded and say, oh, well, you're not the ideal German Aryan, so we have to do away with you or whatever. So again, how a rational person could say, hey, why are you promoting this and you're not the ideal? Anybody could take a look at that, but it just goes to the powers dynamic back then also. Who would challenge that to say, you're not the ideal either, so why are you making it for everybody else? Nobody would dare oppose him. But I don't think the statue of him, I mean, Napoleon, I saw the Napoleon movie a couple months ago. Again, he was relatively, now he said he was an average height for his, I think it was like 5'6", 5'7", which was the height of an average man in France back then. So it wasn't like, everyone portrays him as being this really short guy or whatever. But I think power is power. If you got the means to control armies and enforce your will, at least back then it doesn't. Now, the only time I think the first time your looks made a difference when being a leader was actually the first televised debate between Richard Nixon and John Kennedy back in 1960. That's when it became kind of like a beauty contest, because the people, still a lot of people had radio. The people who listened to the debate, if they only listened on the radios, they all thought that Nixon won the debate. But on TV, he was nice, he was tanned, he had that look that the people on the TV audience thought that Kennedy won the debate. So I think really with television and being able to see, people and how they carried themselves and whatnot, I think that's what started making a difference in terms of how people viewed their leaders. They want them to look a certain way. The last time I know that somebody cared about what somebody looked like, you got to go back to biblical days with Saul, because Saul was tall, dark, and handsome, but David was like, short and ruddy guy or whatever. But the people wanted Saul because he looked good.
Because I may be a little too young to remember this, and I think Hashim would remember this, but I can't. When it was a black and white TV, could you even see the tans on them? It's a legit question here.
You could still see. You knew what the person looked like, and if they was tan or not. You funny, but I'm
not. This is why we call you the wise man for a reason here.
Let me ask you this question. I know he was talking about the powers to be. Let me ask this question. Do you think it's more scarier to know who's in power and then not to? Like now, you don't know who's the power to be is. Is it more scary to know who it was then in those times or now?
Mr. President, you want to take that one?
Who's Mr. President?
You. The president of the 9 Bs?
Now, oh yes, I am the president of the 7 Bs. Right.
I'm going to promote you to the 9 Bs. Why? I have no idea.
All right, well, you got to come up with two more Bs for me, to make that work. But But I'm sorry, Hashim. Your question again is, was it better that you knew who the guy was versus not?
Yeah, was it better you think before you knew who was in power than now you really don't know who's in power, but you know there's things coming out to say this is what we should be doing. Just like president, we all know he's not. They have him out there, but we know there's somebody else pulling strings. Should I be saying that? But you see where I'm going.
You can say it. It's a free platform. You can say what you want.
That's a tough question. That's a tough question because sometimes they say happiness is bliss. I think if I the fact that I don't know necessarily who's in power, sometimes I kind of go about my life not thinking about it so much, if that makes any sense. If I know like that guy is like first at mine all the time, and keep in mind a lot of these people where the person is like I know so I'm in the IT field, so I work with folks who from Russia and whatnot, and like Putin's pictures like everywhere. You know what I mean? Like you go to the train station, every publication, everything. You look at those old pics of the Soviet Union, Stalin's picture was everywhere. It was almost like he was like some of these guys were like deified, where you saw these people 24/7, 365. They reminded you of who was in power. I mean, even in North Korea now, Kim Jong-un, I mean, his picture is like all over the place.
They say
I don't know if I would want that as like a daily reminder of my suffering or the conditions. I don't know if I'd want that in my face all the time. So I might be better off just in terms of how I need to function in my everyday life, not necessarily knowing who's running things. It might be enough just to know, again, how the game works and how to certainly influence, if I could, those people. But I don't know if I'd want, I don't know if I'd want that in my face every day. I couldn't imagine going to Russia and just looking at Putin all day. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, but there's other countries. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like you said, China, Russia. There's other. That'd be
crazy to me, But yeah, it's like China. Go back to the days, especially in the 60s and 70s. Mao Zedong's picture again everywhere. It was like like I said, they really made gods of those folks.
Wife, go ahead.
Well, I probably would be more comfortable knowing who's in power opposed to not knowing, because now you're lying to me. Now you're dumbing me down, gaslighting me. Oh, that's not what you. But if I knew the king was coming around, get on your hands and knees and kowtow. Okay, you knew what was going on, and when he passed, now you can go back to your regular life. Now I don't know. I got surveillance. I got clouds. I got FBI. I got psyops. I got all these things. People taking my liberties, unbeknownst to me signing up. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even know what's going on now. And then when you get a little inkling that something's going on, oh, now you're a conspiracy theorist. Now you're crazy. So now I got to worry about people calling me crazy, getting shut down, getting canceled and all these things, as opposed to just living my little peasant life, knowing that the king is down the street and I go to my farmer's market or whatever, and I just don't, misbehave, and I should live a decent, peasant life. Like, I think now it's just more layered and just gradually things are being taken away from us unbeknown and dumbing us down. You know what I'm saying? And now we've seen it practice on a global scale from fear. So it's kind of crazy. And people that even if in the age of information, all the access that we have, and if you have viable people that are saying like, hey, this isn't right, oh, silence. Wow. It's a little bit more crazier now, I think.
I think people over there took enough shit over the years as you know what? Fuck you, we're fighting back now. Pretty much. Because they've been dealing with it for years. I spoke to a lot of people over the years, and I hear the same thing. They're done with it. They're just done with it. How much can they take? It's not fair for them. Who wants to go next? Ashim, Nick?
Yeah, I think Nick.
It's just two different landscapes. Years ago, way different. Today, it's more, but it's the same concept of propaganda. Propaganda has been perpetrated throughout history as a form of control. Now it's just done through media, messaging, branding. So the power seems much larger than it is. Whereas maybe centuries ago, years ago, decades ago, you'd have sort of the king. They're living in the castle. You know that the king's in the castle. Now it's just a totally different landscape. So in a way, I think it's a little worse now because you sort of don't know what's going on and who's watching and how they're watching and what's happening. And then we also have so much propaganda between media and what's going on in the world today. So just two different total landscapes altogether.
Let me swing back to a comment that Paul made earlier today, early tonight, excuse me. Voting. How many of you guys do you think is actually legit? We actually vote, and how much do you guys do you think is rigged?
Boy.
Oh, I went there. Oh, I told you when I changed it into Spartan
That's not a
Arena.
bad question.
I am going to break boundaries here tonight.
Yeah, I think voting matters, but again, you have to know but the game is rigged. So, like I said, I mean, the electoral college. Like I said, I'm in New Jersey. New Jersey has more population than like 8 or 10 states, and a lot of those states don't reflect my demographic, or in a lot of times my values. But they get 2 senators to the U.S. Senate, but we can't get statehood for D.C. We can't get statehood for D.R. or American Samoa or any of these other places.
Yep.
So I think a lot of the game is rigged, but when the functions of government work, your vote matters, electoral college and things like that. We saw the efforts to try to uproot a lot of that stuff, and certainly in the last election, fake electors and things like that. But the process is supposed to follow the will of the voter. But that has certainly come under scrutiny as of late. That's why I think a lot more people are starting to pay attention to, who your electors are, who's your, who your state leaders are. I think all that's important. I think for a lot of people, they only got jazzed up to vote every 4 years in the presidential, and that's when they check everything down. But who your local leaders are, who your local judges are, your state officials are, your state electors, assembly persons, all those people commit. Some places have commissioners. All that stuff matters. So if anything positive or good came out of it, is that people need to pay attention, even at your local school boards. Who you're voting for there, all that stuff matters. So I think the term I've heard over the years is, you think global, but you act local. And for the longest time, people were just thinking, okay, well, if I vote for president, that'll solve all my problems. And we see with the things now. No, you got to think from the bottom up and whatnot. But I think when people have that understanding, then I think you get better outcomes. But then when you talk about, well, the president can't do whatever because his hands are tied or whatever. Why is his hands are tied? Because you have this division of powers and he can't get people in certain places or certain things. I mean, a lot of things that go right or left depends on who your judges are. Well, again, who your judges are depends on who the president is. So yeah, voting works. And there are people who've used voting, certainly certain communities, to great effect. So, I think people just need better education. And I think we talked about this on one of your Saturday Hangout shows. It's sad that most people in our generation learned about politics from Schoolhouse Rock back in the 70s. I'm just a bill, and I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting on Capitol Hill. That's how we learned about politics, and we haven't learned much since then.
You went back.
So yeah, but all that stuff, it was all broken down. Constitution, how everything works, how the government works, it was all there. But the problem is, I'm 8. I can't even vote yet.
Wow. So
I'm like, so I'm a big proponent, and guys have fought with me on it, but I really believe just as immigrants who come to America, if you want to be a citizen, you have to pass a citizenship test.
Right.
I believe that every high school senior needs to pass a citizenship test to graduate from high school. Because think of it, you're 17, 18 years old, you should be graduating being an informed voter. You should know how the electoral college works,
Right.
how your local, state, local government works. You should know all that. Not at 8 years old. You should be learning that. That should be like senior year courses.
Right.
So now you
Yep.
graduate. Think about it. You graduate. You get your voter ID card. You go into the booth as an informed voter. Again, I want more people, informed people voting, not less. Whereas you see in the country, there's all these efforts to limit the number of people who can vote. I want more voters, but I want more educated voters. So I definitely think that we need to have some real civics needs to take place in a time when you can use it. 17, you get your driver's license, your permit, all that stuff. All right, we're about to turn millions of people, potential voters, into the field, into the world. And they should have every knowledge available to them to be able to do that. I would love that we had that kind of thing. You should know about your country. You should know certain things. I mean, we've all seen these videos, people on the street, you ask them what's the capital of the state that they live in, they can't name it and all this kind of stuff. I think we're doing a bad job educating
Absolutely.
these kids in terms of how, how their country works, how things needs to work. So I would love to see much more better education. But now I think voting is a powerful tool, but people need to treat it seriously and not just, go into the booth blindly, but, really get an education. I really think that should start happening in your senior year of high school as a requirement. You have to do that if you want to pass and graduate and, go on with the rest of your life.
Wife, what do you think about that?
I think it's beautiful, especially as I look to the past. I think they really cared about building citizens with like home education, like just certain things and trades and wood shop, like to just help you be a functioning citizen of the country. They don't even teach cursive anymore. Teachers are using apps and really integrating technology, and not that that's not a bad thing. It's always a good thing. But not doing the basic things that a person would need. You know what I'm saying? So if you can't even tell me the capital, that's bad. Look at the children that did a whole walkout of school because they probably had people like Mr. Bennett like saying, hey, we really need to, hunker down and start teaching these kids and, raise up. We're behind. Our numbers are behind. Our students are doing this. Our students are doing that. So what's the number one factor? Everybody's on the phone. So they said, we're going to, put the phones away. The students walked out of the school. They valued their phones more than their education. So they don't want to know about their local governments. They don't want to know about this. They don't want to know about that. And then
what state was that?
I'm not sure. It might have been. I don't know what it is. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know.
But it was on the news.
Yes, and the fact that the students are doing this is like, okay, that is a direct reflection of how they feel about their education. They would rather have that little square in their hands than to learn about things that are gonna advance them in life. It's bad. It's horrible. So I don't know, what do we do with that? Okay. So I definitely, sorry, going back, I definitely agree with Mr. Bennett. Yeah, we should definitely teach our kids, and they should know some basic things, and even knowing their phone number. Little children knowing the phone number. Little babies don't even know the numbers, and I hear them calling for emergency. They don't even know where they live. They don't know certain things, and we really need to pay attention to that and do better on the school level and at home and from the home.
Good feedback. Nick, you're up, buddy.
Yeah, I totally agree. I agree that voting should happen from the grassroots level and work our way up. I actually think it's more powerful coming from the bottom, because once you get to the top, it's sort of, you lose some of that. It gets diluted as you're going up. At the same time, I'm on the other side of the coin. I got in a lot of trouble when I was 20. So I don't have that right. But that's besides the point. So I was able to see that side of things as well. It's a very unfair system all around. And then I do agree with technology is a blessing and a curse. And it's sort of like the bane of our existence in a way, because we grew up in an era where computers were maybe just starting to be created. And then there was no cell phones. And you're riding bikes to people's houses and you're calling from the house phone on a landline. And you had to memorize all these phone numbers and you had to know stuff. You had to use an atlas to figure out where you're going for
Yep.
directions. And now it almost made people lazy by having this technology in their hand. And it's almost I don't want to say like Gen Z is stupid, but it's dumbing our generations down. And if we allow that to keep happening, it's going to make things even worse, because we've become so reliant on the technology that if the technology gets removed, half these kids are not even going to know how to function in society. So I think that is
They're
a
gonna
huge,
die right
huge
with it.
topic. Yep.
Hashim, you're up.
No, shoot, he couldn't have said that any better. Technology go down, these kids gonna die right with it. You, like you said, you can't even, we don't even know a phone number these days. Before you had to have that phone number and a dime in your pocket. I'm sorry for saying a dime. I'm going back too far, but I'm just saying.
You said it. I didn't have to say it this time.
That's what it was. Your mother sent you to school and told you, yo, if something happened, you had to use the payphone. That's
Right.
what it was. You had no cell phone.
Oh my
Now, that's what it was. And bring your tail home. I think we talked about it. Bring your tail home before the lights come on.
Mhm.
That's how you communicated. It was, now you pick up a cell phone and we still can't catch nobody.
This is what makes me upset about this world right now. We're so connected, but we're so disconnected.
Oh
Think
yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Like, I have friends in Greece. That's why I use Facebook. I use it for other reasons too, to communicate with Nick, Paul, and so on, right?
Mhm.
But we're disconnected still. But at the same time, if I didn't have social media yet, like this platform, I would never met Paul. Me and Paul have become very good friends. Just my hair, but that's a different story. But again, that's how I met wife. And like me and Nick, we wouldn't be communicating as well if we didn't have but we're still disconnected at the same goddamn
But like
fucking
you
time.
said, the technology is a gift and a curse.
Thank you. That's where I was going with this. So where do we put the stop of this? Now the AI's coming, and don't get me started with the AI. We're going to have a conversation on a full episode coming soon, to a grooming channel near to you. But but when do we put a stop of this? We're telling kids, literally, and three out of 5 of us has kids. You give them this at the dinner table. Now shut up and you watch. Whatever to keep them quiet. Why? Who wants to take the first question? Why first?
What's the question? Why we what?
Why
what,
are you
what,
giving a kid a tablet during the dinner table to shut him up? Versus, how about giving him crayons instead, or let him
'Cause it's
play with his
easy.
food? Fuck it.
Well,
it's easier for them to shut up, and you don't have to be bothered with them, because that's what's going to take their time and their mind away from whatever you're doing. That's what it's about. You just want them to sit in the corner with whatever they're doing. Crayons, these kids don't want crayons and things like that no more. We didn't bring them up on that. Well, now you don't bring them up on crayons and everything. The first thing, even a baby have a cell phone. A baby have a better cell phone than me.
He does.
kids-
His daughter, she does.
I'm a little.
Biased.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on this. I just think that the technology of the day, I think, may change, but the process is different though. So again, even when we gave our kids coloring books with crayons back in the day, it was still an idea to keep them busy.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was we weren't looking to interact with them and be all up in there either. We wanted to watch the game, on our black and white TVs, or if you were fancy enough to have a color TV or whatever. So here's the game, or go outside. Now, I mean, I think that's certainly an aspect that's missing. I mean, I think kids interacting, playing basketball or baseball or stickball or whatever, I think that's certainly an aspect that is missing. But in terms of in the house, before that, it was crayons. And then how many of you guys, for the old school guys, remember the Etch-a-Sketch?
Oh yeah.
Thing that you wrote, you turn the
Turn the
things and the
knobs.
pencil drew for
I
you.
remember that
And
shit.
you lexicograph. and all that. That was like the early tablet back in the day, to be honest.
Oh, I loved it.
What about
And
the light
then,
bright?
yeah,
With
light
the-
bright, yeah, also it was still the same thing. It was still to keep your kids occupied while you went and did something else. Or even if you went and read a book. Now, again, hopefully you get some knowledge, but you weren't necessarily interested in what your kid was reading. Now, for me, my mom bought me this big thing of encyclopedias. And I think I read pretty much every one of them, like cover to cover or whatnot. So I think that was a useful exercise of time. The question is the technology or whatever it is that our parents are giving us, is it making us better? Is it making us smarter? Or is it making us, is it stunting our development? Now, again, I see no difference between a coloring book with a crayon or a tablet where you can use a stylus pen to do the coloring. I don't see a difference there. And that's why I don't necessarily mind when my kids, when my kids got tablets or whatnot, that's what they would use those things for, or educational games, or counting games, things to help them out. So I look at those things as being very similar. But to the extent where people are using the technology not for education or for mental stimulation, but purely for either entertainment, mindless entertainment, or for for their social development. I think that's where everything kind of fell off. So again, I'm not so anti-tech that I'm saying that these things don't have a place, or that they can be used in powerful ways. But when it stunts your ability to create interpersonal relationships, or you don't use it, like me, I'm on YouTube a lot. But most of my YouTube content that I watch, if I'm not on these shows, I'm looking at documentaries or clips about history, like what happened World War II. Like I may even look up, when, like the question I asked you earlier, grooming, about Greeks when they go from kings to more a democratic government. I may look that up later on.
Right.
So I've always used YouTube. Yeah, I mean entertainment. Yeah, some comedy stuff here and there, but more times than not, I'm on YouTube trying to learn something. And that I think that's something that's really different now. That are these kids using the technology to actually learn to improve themselves, or is it just just TikTok videos or just stuff that's just funny all the time? Yeah, I mean every once in a while, hey, great. But when was the last time you just had an interest in something? It's like, I want to learn about a historical thing, or how to do something, or some just information that makes life easier for you because you can do some things. That is what I worry about more so with the technology. But the coloring tablet versus the coloring book, I don't necessarily draw a distinction.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it us, as maybe some of us as parents maybe kind of drop the ball on that, because you just give that tablet or the computer to them and you're really not directing them to what to do?
Like I said, even before then, even with the coloring books, I don't think we were necessarily being interactive. Like I said, the coloring book with the crayons, that was go play Johnny over there while I either watch the game or go keep working or do so. So again, I think it's the purpose for anything. Why you give your kids anything? What is the purpose behind it? Are you really trying to help with their development, or are you just trying to keep them preoccupied so you can do something else? I'm tired. I got off of work. I just want to chill here, and you got to a point where sometimes you didn't even care where your kids were going. Oh, I want to go outside just go ahead. I just want to be, you didn't even ask questions. So I think parenting in general started failing a while ago, before the technology really got to where it was.
Oh, yes.
Because we were given the early video, the video game systems, consoles. We had the show a few weeks ago about the old video game. My first Atari 2600, right? So again, we were all into, fine, let's get him a video game system and he'll just play video games for hours. He won't bother us, and he's home. And the idea, like I said, I think there was also something in the narrative about parenting where people just started getting spooked when they started putting kids on milk cartons and whatnot. I think a lot of parents got spooked to say, hey, let me get my kid a video game system so at least he's home and I know where he is.
Right.
The times when they were outside and say, come home at 6 or come home by night. I think for a lot of parents, when they started here, you guys remember, it is
10 o'clock.
It is 5:30. Do you know where your son is? Do you know where your kids are?
Yeah.
So
remember
I
the
think
first
if
sex.
society started putting in, it's like, maybe I need to, start dying. So at least they're home. It's safe. I know where they are. I don't have to worry about them. So I think there was a lot of things that started happening, like especially in the 80s, when it just became this thing: missing children, missing kids, milk cartons, the messages, and how it was sold to us. Yeah, you get them a system that you don't have to worry about it. And I think it was like we thought we were doing something, but really in the long run, it might have been hurting again our kids' ability to develop social relationships and all these other things. So
But
I know
wait a
I'm
minute.
joking
It almost what you're talking about, it almost went back to that because these kids don't want to go outside. They'd rather play the game in the tablet or whatever and sit inside. Before we was trying to run outside. Now they're trying to sit inside.
Yeah, right. But just to the point, as far as going back even before the tablets, right? Like I said, the 70s, the 80s, they were making all
1900s.
kinds of things to keep kids occupied. And in the long run, I don't know if that
my pushback is. If you're using it just for them keeping busy, draw or play a game, I'm okay with that. But when you keep them just to shut them up and playing and watching a show from the time they get up to the time they go to bed, that's where I have an issue.
Indeed.
I have I'm the kind of mentality when I have kids that you have two legs, go the fuck outside, go get dirty, go get bruised up, and go have some fun. Go go break a leg, break a bone or two. I'm okay with that.
Oh man.
Okay, so okay. I'll be careful. No, so I'm a hold you to that, grooming, because again, how many kids today would let their kids just go down the street?
I know.
At 8 and 9 years old, go play or whatever, go get broken bone, go get whatever. Especially with these moms today, I mean, bad protective. You're not going anywhere. I don't know where you are. We're so
facts.
over them. So if you say you're gonna be that guy, but also you're gonna have a wife also. So you can say that stuff, but I'm gonna hold you to it. If you're gonna be letting Johnny go out at 7 to 8 years old and go in roughhouse with the kids in the neighborhood.
Fun fact:
we're not living that way.
I know. Okay, I'm not gonna say names, but one of my really good friends, his wife, has literally put an air tag, 3 of them, on her child. Yeah. I'm like, okay, 1 I get, but 3, god damn, that's overkill.
Yeah, I mean the way the world is going this time, you damn near want to put 3, 4, 10 on them just in case they get found. One get found, you got another one. It's just that scary out there. It's the level that's going on these days with they missing children and trafficking. It's kind of scary.
That's the thing. And certainly, Nick, I'm not trying to crowd the. I know you're looking to get in also, but another thing that this whole mentality, I don't know if it's worse now than before. Or have we been scared into it? Like, do I think there are more missing children now today than in the 50s? I don't know. But I think the perception changed that your kid could be missing. And so I don't know. I would have to look at some numbers. I would have to look at some data to see, have missing children increased over time, or are we even just reporting it differently back then? I don't know. But it to me, something just doesn't seem right when back in the day, you would walk to school miles to go to school. And now it's like, I remember when my kids were young, we would drop our kids off in the parking lot of the elementary school. And the parents wouldn't leave. Now, you also had a security guard there greeting the kids going into the building, high-fiving them in. They would not leave until the kid was in the door. You got all these kids, you got the guard, you got all these people. So I think it's more than just these kids are missing. I just think it's just in here that, I think we're more paranoid
it's to an extent. Mindset. You want to know that they got inside the building.
Yeah, but back in the day, you were like, your kid would walk to school and be out of your sight. It didn't matter.
That's true.
So why is it now that you can't even, with all that around going on? No, kid has to be in the building before I pull out. And that's why I used to hate taking my kids to school. It would take me like 30 minutes to get out of there because every car, it'd be the same thing. Johnny or Susie goes into the school, then they pull off. It would take forever.
Because once again, we got all this technology and we still can't find nobody. They find them when they want to.
Good point. Scam, what's going on, my man? How are you tonight?
Yeah.
What's good? What's going on?
Good to see you, brother.
So,
good, Mr. Bennett.
Nick, before you go, I'm going to have Scam jump in really fast, then you're next, okay? All right, go ahead, Scam. What's up? I know you guys want to say.
No, I was going to respond to it. Did it go back and respond to whatever the original question was?
Oh, we lost the topic on that. Now we're talking about kids being on the tablets and missing kids. What's the difference between now and in the 50s? Then the kids go out and play versus back then. I know the original topic was powerful men that lose power, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But seriously, what do you feel about that? Would you put a kid with a tablet, or would you give him crayons instead?
I think it's dusty leadership blaming the very problem down to the kids. Who bought the tablet? Wouldn't that be the parent? Just like the parent, I hear so many parents complaining, man, social media killing these kids. But they're on social media complaining. What sense that make? You're on YouTube talking about how social media. So you're doing the very thing. Then you're paying the cell phone and internet bill and handing it to the kids, saying, man, it's killing them. Attitude reflects leadership. But everything can be a tool or it can be a poison.
Mm-hmm.
There's unlimited information on YouTube. Just like y'all see me crusting and dusting on panels. I actually get stuff. There's a lot of stuff I do get from it. When I have dust conversations up here, do you know how easy it is to have a productive conversation with my 18 or 12-year-old nephew? How easy it is to listen when you're used to going 1-on-6 with dust crusties on a panel? How much information is out there and what it could be used for? Or if people evaluated to see what failed before, saying, communication has always been bad amongst people, husband and wife, next door neighbor, community, people. Let's see how it was bad in 58, 68, and 78. Now you can use a computer. You can go and look at old interviews, look at whatever, use it for a resource. Okay, let me go look up communication. Let me go look up therapy. Let me go look up productive conversations and find good communicators and work on communication skills. So you can use things as a poison or you can use them as a benefit.
Right.
But everything was better for the poor before argument. Most of the time is usually a direct lie. Violent crimes were the worst in 92 and 93. It means the people who were 18, 19, and 20 then were born in the 70s, 60s. They were adults then and they watched it happen. Now you go blame somebody who wasn't even there, a 22-year-old. And all these behaviors were facilitated. Say it was because it's somebody else's fault. It's the record company. And all these behaviors. How old are those people? Are they 22? A lot of these people have children, and they're 40 and 50. So y'all get where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Nick, we got
That's all I got.
Well, I just want to touch on probably the most important part of this whole thing is if that is where the attention is going, I believe it's all our responsibility then to then get the education in front of them. So if we know that the youth or the younger generation, if they're going to be on screens and that's where the attention is going to be, then it's our responsibility to have conversations like this, put out more education, and put it where the attention is going and work with that. And that's how we can sort of go about creating some change without feeding into the problem. So as long as we're not putting up stupid memes and dumb and entertainment and stuff like that, and we're actually having serious conversations, what's going to happen is eventually they're going to start to see some of these conversations. They're going to get shared, and you'll be able to penetrate into that way. And I think that's the most important part of having conversations like this and bringing up topics like this. That way, it's all together. It's including everybody instead of saying, hey, we're here and they're there. It's almost like, hey, we're all coming together and we're trying to pass down knowledge and things that we've learned over the years and things we've acquired, and we're putting it sort of where it needs to be.
I hear that. Go ahead.
I there was a point where when my ex-husband was just bringing so much freaking gadgets in the house, I was like, please stop bringing this crap in here because I just can't take it. But if your man's a techie, you just can't help it. They can't help it. But like, I am guilty of falling in the tablet trap, of the phone trap, because usually it started off with the kids trying to borrow your phone and be on your phone all the time. So you're like, let me get them something so they're not on my personal property. Keep them quiet while maybe I need a breath or two. But I always try to, as Mrs. Scam said, to be active with monitoring what they're watching, not just mindlessly let them wander, because we know that the internet stuff can pop up and things like that, and they can see things out of your parental control. So I've always was active in that they can be educated by the internet. So it kind of helped them learn the phonics quicker. They were able to read at 3 years old and be able to put the letters together phonetically so that they can read. When they went to school, they were like, your children can read? I said, yeah. They taught themselves and they utilize the internet as a tool to do that. Even though it was fun, they still learned something. My son, he's 10 years old, but his mind just works fast. So like he watches a lot of, people that are interested in, what is it called? Speakers. So he knows how to put a whole speaker together. He was able to watch somebody online and put in his mind, Mom, I need this, I need that, to create a speaker out of cardboard. So if you're letting your children be on these tools as they are, because Google and YouTube, these are search engines, to let them build themselves up. You know what I'm saying? He knows all these. I don't even know half the stuff that he knows, but he's learned it from his interest in mechanical engineering, in those things, in learning how to put those things together. And I'm all for it, but when it goes to the left, I'm on it. So I try to keep him, protect his innocence, because the world, they don't really care about our children anyway. So, I really try to keep it on the educational level. And even my daughter, she sits on the computer sometimes playing Roblox. I'm like, why don't you? And I always encourage them, like, don't just be a consumer, be a producer. Like, learn coding, learn how to do this while your mind is, bendable, teachable, and all this stuff, instead of waiting till you get to college and, to learn a skill or trade. Learn it now. That's what life is, getting ahead of the game. Time in whatever gives you an advantage, so that you're not, lacking of a skill. You're not afraid of certain languages because you're unfamiliar with it. Familiarize yourself with it. So I'm always encouraging my children to familiarize themselves, become producers, and position themselves to use things to their advantage while still having fun. Yeah.
Definitely. I do feel like this engine are a tool to learn and to educate. Good example again. One of my best friends, he taught his kid at a very young age how to read. I'm like, your son knows how to read. He's only 3.
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible? Oh, YouTube. Huh? If you if you take accountability, like one of our viewers says, here you go, lack of accountability, and it makes them be more responsible. Absolutely, hands down, anytime. So you, as a parent, I don't care who you are, if you put the right things in front of them, they're gonna absorb it like sponges.
Absolutely.
Sponges. So, Dashim, you got anything for us?
No, everything that was saying is true. I think basically, like, to narrow it up, everybody, you have to be accountable. You have to, it's accountability in what you, I guess, giving them and what you're doing with the child. And like we said earlier, you just can't give it to them and say, get out my way, or so I can do what I have to do. you have to put something in front of them and hope that they can absorb, and like she was saying, and hope that they can learn something from what's being done and utilize it honestly.
One thing I'm thinking about just came to my head was obviously back in the day, people had more children, right? So it took in a lot of these situations, it's not like you got 5-6 kids in the house. 1 to 2 is like the average number of children that people are having today. So I'm just thinking if they weren't, in, Scam a co-sign on this. If back in the day when you had 6, 8, my dad came from 13 and my mom came from 9. They're from the deep South. So I'm thinking if it's difficult today to be able to, keep 1 or 2 kids occupied, imagine what it was back then when you had, a whole quiver full of
12,
kids
13.
and trying to make sure everybody was whole and that you gave them all the attention, even if you were a stay-at-home mom, which was again more of the norm back then. How did they get the attention that they needed back then? But it seems like it's so hard now for even one child to get the attention that you need from both.
They didn't give it to them. They lied. They didn't give it.
I'm agreeing with you. That's my point. I'm saying back then, if it's difficult now, how could they have done it back then? I don't know if they were getting the attention they needed back then. That's my point. It's one child is one child is difficult, but to have the type of number of kids that our parents and grandparents had back then, what attention were they getting?
They colonized the kids, just like like the manosphere still wants to colonize their wives. Being honest, don't look left, don't look right, do what I say, don't think.
Yep,
I'm gonna beat you, which means just like you hear people, there's only 1 and 10. There's nothing in between, because how they were taught: right, wrong, pain. Don't do wrong. If you do wrong, pain. So that's how they thought. Like, hold up. Why did why did people in the 50s, 60s, 70s work at the same job, sit in the same chair the same way? Because that's how their brain was up. That's how they fixed their brain. How come people complain in their 70s about the same thing at the same time every day and won't change it? Because that's how their brain was taught to work. The development system is a lie. The traditional system is a lie. And they keep trying to sell this lie or keep repeating it. And you'll see some people, even in Gen X and millennials, who bought into this system. That's a lie. Or trying to buy into it and there's nowhere to be found. That everything is about accountability, right, wrong, pain. Somebody did something wrong. They don't ask why, how, what did they do? What were they thinking? What was the development process? Versus a 7-year-old does something you don't like. Caveman parent, you're wrong, bad, pain. Instead of, hey, son, why did you do that? They'll tell you. And it's usually, I'm trying to figure out how this world works. Come here, son. Let me show you how it really works. This is why you do this and why you don't do that. Now try it again. Let me model this behavior for you. Let me show you how it's done. Hey, brother, big brother, show your brother how it's done. That's leadership. Everything is a teaching opportunity. But what do? Boy! Yeah. So a 6 foot, 268 pound man colonizing you. The only thing that clicks in your brain every time you do something. Am I going to get beat for this? I'm just smacked. Right? Wrong. Somebody else does something up the street. Right? Wrong. What do you do? Beat them up. They taught you how to do that. Then they tell you, man, back in the day, we used to fight each other. You're beating up your homeboys. That's supposed to be camaraderie.
Doing it now.
That's acceptable. But I could go all day on this, but I'll share the mic.
Nick, I just wanted to just to let you know, this is what happens when you have the bold, the beautiful, the beneficent, benevolent Ball Brothers of the BMU Network. When we invade these spaces, this is the type of dialogue that takes place. These nice bald heads, we freed ourselves from follicle care, and it allows for all this mental acuity and this dynamic just to permeate the
area. Direct power.
We've taken over Grooming Review show, but this is what happens when you get the Ball Brothers when we come to the business. So, just want you to let you know that, just to
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Bennett, you're one of the most underappreciated, underrated, intelligent people in this space. Your voice is needed beyond measure. You don't even know it. Actually,
I
you probably
appreciate
do
you.
know it.
Thanks so much.
I didn't
Agreed.
tell. Listen, I'll
I
offer
just
to
hope
you
they don't
one more
run you out of
time
here.
on an air. If you want a day on the channel, the platform is always yours.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Always will be. The
Well,
table is never gonna be closed. It's always gonna be open. So let's wrap it up for tonight. Before let's just get here final thought, and I have a couple comments because you guys know me. I love my comments and did it in the show. So let's start with you, the big, beautiful, bolded. Oh, by the way, I am gonna be waxing your head one of these days on camera. Anyway,
Sounds good.
full thing. I'm like,
Just want to touch briefly on the original topic. Ultimately, I think it's inevitable. Why powerful men lose power. Um, Again, it's harder to stay on top than it is on the climb up. Every major civilization, we talked about the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, at the time they were at the height of their technological and powerful spaces, and they all lost it. Remember, there was a dark ages in Europe for a reason, because a lot of that technology, especially the technology think about it, in Egypt, all that stuff they built up in Egypt. They were doing astronomy, they built the pyramids, all that technology. And all that stuff was just lost for for hundreds of years until the Enlightenment period in the 1500s, where people start to accrue knowledge again. So I think it's just man's nature. It's a cycle of any organization, anything that you start up. There's the enthusiasm and there's the hunger and the drive. Hey, let's build this. You get to a point where you get established in your routine and how you do things. You get into a comfort zone, and then you get into a stagnation zone, and then it dies off. That's how churches die. That's how institutions die. It's just what we do. We build, and then we want to preserve or hang on. There's not the need to change. We make the society so comfortable that that basic human desire. Again, please go back. I can't stress this enough. Roll a ball, watch that film, especially the latter part of the film, where they have this very debate over comfort versus the ability to change, to grow, to challenge oneself. That's really at the crux of what the film is. And I think that's ultimately how most societies in history have worked. You get to a level where you think you're number one, and then you don't last. So again, same thing with men. You know that hunger, you drive and to get to the top, to get yourself. I mean, a lot of these guys pull themselves out of poverty and whatnot to get to a position. Now you want to try to keep it. But just like in football, you play prevent defense. Prevent defense usually gets you beat in a football game, trying to stop from losing rather than trying to win. And so that's always going to be something. So I think it affects all men. We can just go through history. You know, you're on top and you come down. So yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think it's part of the life cycle. It's hard to stay consistent for a long period of time. And the ones who have done it are rare. And I think that's why we certainly bear from Tom Brady in football, stayed on top for a long time. Now we're talking about Patrick Mahomes. He might be the next one to have, a decade of dominance at his position. But it's rare. And I just think that's just, how human beings operate. So that's all
I like that. What you said, that's all true. The one climbing the hill is always as hungry than the one that's on top of the hill.
Yeah.
It's just that type of thing. Like you say, you get stagnant, and he figured that you have it all, and there's nothing more to do, or you're trying to do it. There's no more ideas that come to you because you have it. That's where a lot of all these people they fall, they wind up doing something crazy, and they wind up falling. And the one that's coming up have a better idea and say, well, I could do this better. I could do better than what he did, and move him down. And next thing you know, he's on top. Like you said with Patrick Mahomes, we can go there. It was Tom Brady we was just talking about. Now it's Patrick Mahomes. After Patrick Mahomes get his few more years in and he got some time, it's going to be somebody else. It's always somebody else coming on. Technology, we have what everybody talking about, iPhone. Before you give it some time, it's going to be something else. It's just somebody always coming up with a better thought, a better idea, a better something.
Well, thank you so much. Nick, you're up.
Yeah, it just goes back to cycle of life, cycle of nature. You got the tree, goes from a seed, has the ambition, grows up to a tree, eventually starts dying, goes back to the earth. So that cycle just continues. So yeah, just wanted to say I appreciate meeting all of yous. This has been a great
Likewise.
conversation. And with that said, I also run the Upgraded Man Project, and I would love to connect with a couple of you guys, maybe do some one-on-one interviews or maybe a group interview. I am a health and fitness coach, but the overarching mission of that is to pass knowledge to the young men that are coming up. And so if you guys have anything you would like to pass to young men, I'd be more than happy to get you on an interview or a podcast, and we could go from there.
Thank you for the invite. Thank you for being for sure.
Yeah,
I can get
any-
you
We can figure something
anytime.
out. We can
want to share with grooming my information. If you want to reach out, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
Also,
I
you
was
can
gonna
find
say
me
we can figure
online
something out.
on
Maybe we can stream on both
Instagram.
channels.
If you look at me on Instagram, Paul T Bennett at Instagram, you can find me there. Hit me in my DMs. You can hit me there and find me there.
So yeah, like I said, Nick, like I said, we can probably do like a double stream, do a stream on both channels. Let me figure out how to do that, and I'll give you the information, and we'll figure out how we do that. We get maybe we can hit it both ends. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right, cool.
Yeah, my ID's in the chat. If you,
Yeah,
if
we'll all connect and go
Oh, I
from
forgot
there.
about that. Let me
Yeah,
put it in
Scam,
there.
you want to go next?
sure. I'll try to keep it short because I was late to the party.
No comment from me.
How did men lose their power? A lot of the power that men had was fiction. And it got exposed. There was fictional leadership, and it got taken over by other leadership. However, the angels and demons have been fighting on this earth since the beginning of time. The corrupt and the wicked against the nasty and the grimy versus the innocent and rich and the poor. It's going to be what it's going to be. What I can say is to get your power back, first define what power is. It's not, a lot of people, it's not what they think it is. They think it's this caveman mentality, swinging a sledgehammer and knocking out the next man. That's actually very weak. Power comes with stoicism, discipline, physical fitness, mental fitness, starting with your diet, starting with your mindset, starting with putting something positive into your brain, starting with sharing and building community. And the most common thing that we do as people on this earth is communicate. And a lot of people can't speak properly and have a very bad problem with active listening. And they would just react. You can't live like that. But they're going to keep creating these people and putting them in a slave class, giving them fictional power and ragdolling them up and down the street as slaves. And it's going to get nasty. But people, get your power back. Fix your fridge, fix your brain, get in the gym, get around some positive people, get some mentors, get the therapy, get what you need, build yourself up. Nobody's coming to save you. The trolls definitely aren't. That's all I got. But thanks for having me on. Love productive conversations.
You're always welcome. So you know that. This channel is open door for you anytime you want to come on.
Appreciate you.
Anytime. Finally, the beautiful wife is up.
Well, I am happy to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be on your panel. I can't talk from the aspect of a man, but definitely looking up to men, definitely inspiring them to, encouraging them to be on their purpose. I know that pretty young thing with the apple bottom jeans and the the pretty figure can take you off your purpose. So don't forget that women can also take you off your purpose too, and you can lose your power and set yourself back in so many ways. So be careful in that arena as well. As Scam said, build yourself up, get into those places where you can have your power over your own self, your own mind, your own vision, and where you want to go in life. And if you have a problem, get with men that are on their purpose. Get with men that are moving the way you want to move. And hopefully, one by one, we can affect many men, many women to, have more power and be more strong, as people. That's all.
So, I need my panel to vote tonight. Next week, would you guys want to go over schooling, how school has changed over the years, or you want to talk about is AI dangerous or our friend? Paul, you go first. Which one you want to do next week?
Possibly schooling. AI is too many open questions for me, so I don't know
Okay.
where that's going. So I don't know if I could talk about that intelligently. So
That we're gonna come. That conversation is gonna come eventually. You know that. If it's gonna be the Spartan Arena or the Hangout, it's coming eventually. Okay, I got one. Nick, which one you want next week?
Yeah, I jump on the schooling. It's really important because we're in a very important time in history. Before the curriculum was sort of dictated, but now because of technology, we do have that power where we can start to look for the information, the education. So the power is now in their hands, even more. So schooling definitely the topic to speak about.
Okay, Grandpa Time, an ancient time of wisdom. Hashim, I'm
I
talking
would
to you.
say schooling. I know you talking to me. I'm gonna annoy you. I'm gonna say schooling. That AI thing, I got to do a little bit more homework with that, and I still don't understand it. What's going on, and
Nothing. You
I
will
have
never understand
asking
it
a lot
personally,
of
man.
questions. So I would say schooling.
Okay, Scam.
I'm gonna vote for schooling because I don't know a thing about artificial intelligence. And to
Damn.
be honest, schooling is teaching people to become artificially intelligent.
wow.
Okay, I know. I don't need to ask about wife. You're up. Which one you want?
This is hard because I'm nosy on everything. I guess schooling, since everybody said schooling, but like I think AI is very important because it is shaping a lot of the landscape and environment that
I
we're
agree.
going into, and the fact that we don't know, it definitely should be talked about. So I'm
Okay.
gonna go with the guys.
All right. So next week, guys, we are talking about schooling, the evolution, past and present. So make sure you tune in. The panel. What do you guys think? So we keep it at 8:30, or should we move it to 9? Because it seems like nobody can show up at the half hour first.
Yeah, 9 might be a little better. You get a chance. I'm coming off a show before I get on to this one, so
Okay, Nick.
I could use a little break before I come on.
Nick, what do you think? 9?
Who
Hey,
me?
9's good. Just make sure you got your blue light blocking glasses so we all get some good sleep at night.
Definitely. Right here.
Hashim,
Do
9.
your 9 o'clock. Yeah.
Scam.
9. I was gonna go live Wednesday, but I'll move it.
Oh, what
Scam,
are you doing,
I
Scam?
will bring this to the table to you too. If you want to co-stream, please let me know. We'll figure out how to do that.
What you doing next? What your live's going to be?
I'm thinking about doing the attack on confidence, or
Nice.
I might do 60 minutes of solutions.
Okay.
Ooh, that's nice. I like that.
But
Wife, we think 9 o'clock too.
It's not ready yet anyway, so yeah.
No, damn, I'm looking forward to that, for real.
Yeah. Scam, like I said, if you like the co-stream, please let me know. We'll figure out how to do that.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know how to do none of this. So
We'll figure it out. Hit me up in an email. Actually, I got your number. I'll call you. We'll figure it out together, okay?
All right.
All right. Wife? 9?
I'm not making any absolute promises because, like Mr. Bennett says, sometimes people they just pull you in 10,000 different directions. But I will try to be here and support.
All right. I'll take that yes as a yes. 9 o'clock. We're moving the show. It's official. We're moving it to 9 o'clock. I hit the wrong goddamn button too. But anyway, 9 o'clock starting next week. The Spartan Arena will still be 2 hours. It's except be done at, it's supposed to be done a half hour ago, but we always end at this time, so that's why I'm moving it a half hour up. Except that Saturday we are back on Operation Hangout. Tune in, and Sunday we're back at it. Me and Paul, the Gray Line. What are we talking about?
The
this
gray
week, Paul?
area.
Gray. I always do that. God damn it.
And Sunday what time?
What were we
Sunday
talking about
what
this week?
time?
Do you remember?
Sunday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So in the gray area, we basically, myself being an ADOS black man and grooming being a white Greek immigrant man, and we basically have a cultural conversation, looking for the commonalities between us, looking for the intersection, i.e., the gray area. And so the show that's coming up, I believe that's going to we're looking to have a show on religion. I believe that's what we're
No, that's
working
next
on.
week. A week after that.
The week after that. So
Yeah.
so we'll work on the topic for this week. But yeah, but it's different cultural topics. So we talked about school, we talked about marriage, we've talked about growing up. Last week we talked about pets. So it's just basically we look specifically for different points of view from an ethnic point of view. So we want all kinds of people who come from different backgrounds on to really share and really we were looking for that intersection, because again, we're human beings at the end of the day, and a lot of things that we divide over time, we have to understand that, look, we may call it different names or whatnot, but it's the same life experience. Everybody, for the most part, goes to the same things, and so we rip the scabs off. So the thing about I like about the show, we don't hide anything. We talk about the good, bad, and the ugly about the cultures that we come from. So I'm not capping. I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, Americans are better, or Groom is saying Greeks are better, whatever. If it's bad, we talk about it. If it's good, we talk about it. But it is what it is. And again, we find ourselves agreeing a lot more than disagreeing with one another. So that's the idea of the show. It's not a debate, but again, we're just looking to find that common ground. And so we look forward to. I want Japanese people on the show. I want Italians on the show. I want Czechoslovakians on the show. I want Nigerians on the show. I would we just want that just that different cultural mix of people. The more exotic your ethnic culture is, the better we like it. And
Nick, aren't you
that's
Italian?
what we're looking to build in the future. So.
Right.
Nick, are you Italian, right?
Yeah, 100%.
All right.
Oh, I think we have our first guest. I think.
And I have a very unique perspective on that. I grew up in a very unique neighborhood, where John Gotti came from, and it really skewed the way I grew up. And as I got older and went through different experiences, I definitely started to understand things differently. So I would definitely be open to those conversations as well.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All
So
right.
I think
love to hear it.
we'd like to have you on the Gray Line one of these days. Let me know what Sunday's good
The
for you.
gray area. Why you keep calling the Gray Line? That's like
You thinking about the subway?
I keep doing it.
That's a bus. The Gray Line Bus Company. I got to work on this guy, guys. Give me some time. I still need to groom him a bit more.
Because the Gray Line. Yes.
The Gray Line bus. Where are we going? Where are we taking this bus, Groomy?
Nick, we'd like to have you in the Gray area when you're available. Let me know your availability, and me and Paul will figure it out. How's that sound?
Good.
Okay.
Awesome.
Except that, guys. That's the schedule for the next couple weeks. Except that, like always, stay safe, stay fresh, and see you guys next week.
All right.